Kidding. God, he was out there with his machine gun.
In your own words, let's take a moment of silence for our military who are serving us and keeping us free. Dear Lord, teach us the value of sharing what we have with others. Help us to know that life's true rewards cannot be bought and are not found in this eternal life. Amen.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clark, will have the roll call, please.
Mr. Trett? Here. Mr. Washington? Mr. Lajes? Present. Mr. Stauffenberg? Mr. Whitten? Present. Mrs. Bernard? Present. Mr. Marcotte? Present. Mr. James? Present. Mr. McLaren? Present. Mr. Vickery? Present. Mrs. Barber? Ms. Hertzberger-Schmidt? Present. What? Mr. Nicholas? Present. Mr. Skowski? Mr. Olthoff? Present. Mr. Lear? Present. Mr. Scholler? Present. Mr. Hess? Present. Mr. Foster? Present. Mrs. Campbell? Mr. Kalecki? Mrs. McBride? Mr. Yates? Present. Mr. Inns? Present. Mr. Whitus? Present. Mr. Wilson? Present. Mr. Thorne? Present.
We do have a quorum. We'll move on to public commentary. I believe we only have one signed up today, Mr. Snipes.
To the chairman, to the administrative staff and members of the board, you know this is on, but hopefully it is. Back when
Oops, that's not on.
It's not on.
You use the other microphone here or tap it.
Go ahead. I can stand over here. Oh man, that's we'll make it work. Okay. That's done. Okay. As I said to the chairman, to the members of the board and administrative staff, back when I served on the county board, there was an issue that came up before this particular board that I brought up after researching the Illinois Constitution as to the redistricting that the board had done. And at that time, you noticed that I stated that it was illegal. From that particular point, I came off the board. Well, before that, I had Brenda to try to do a study or whatever, and according to her, they had followed everything, but we found out that was in error and that nothing had been done. Then Ed was up on the board or whatever, and I had just come off the board, and he basically asked the county board when I asked you all to do a study, get an opinion from, at that time was the Illinois Attorney General, but you choose to pay $5,000 to get an opinion. And when I looked at the opinion I said was it was just out there. It didn't address the question. And so as a result, you all took the findings. And then Ed Smith, which was the state's attorney at the time, asked you the question whether you would believe Snipes or whether you would believe me or representative. But the board at that particular time did do a study, whatever, so you kind of get the middle of the way there and say, well, let's try to look. And that was kudos up on your part. The problem is that we still face the dilemma that we were in violation of the Illinois Constitution, and that the redistricting by the board that was currently sitting was wrong, and that the vote that was taken was wrong. To spend $5,000 and then to turn around and have to go into court and spend over $1 million, better than $1 million, or whatever, for something that you could not defeat. I made it plain then, and I will re-emphasize it now. There is no way, as I told the body at that time, and Ed, or whatever, that the appellate court, because that's what they took it to, or the Supreme Court could go against the Constitution the Illinois Constitution. If they did that, then that means we might as well just throw government, down the drain, because it would have no merit. And when it got to the appellate court, through Mike Watson, who filed an injunctory relief, but then later found he should have been on a court warrant tow, but the appellate court felt that, hey, either way, he should not have been penalized as far as that was concerned, and it came back to our court, and it just sits there, or whatever. Which means that the board now becomes, can be construed as being illegally constructed. And that's bad. No one has taken a vote. If I was on this board, I'd immediately took a vote and stated it for no other reason but to turn around and say, we need to follow the Illinois Constitution. You took an oath of office when you came up on the board to follow the laws in this Constitution. And if we don't do that, then we sit here as individuals who can be considered liars because we ignore our oath of office. We ignore the laws. And you can't penalize the new members up on the board, but some of the old members do not. And that's something that we have to kind of take to heart here, because it's just sitting. We know that when we went to single member districts without consulting or getting approval from the people, this is a government for and by the people. We are not a democracy, we are a republic. And that means that they basically elect you to be their representatives. And certainly you don't want that brand as being called a liar or someone that will go against something that's been established. That's like going against this country. It's our laws that we must abide by. And if we are not going to abide by them, then how do we expect the children that's coming up in the community that sees us as their representatives will ignore the law, but we penalize them when they ignore the law? So what I'm asking you to do is that I know we're waiting it out until the next redistricting, but it's still wrong. It should be, because until the people change it, or until you put a referendum that allows them to vote, to go back to the 7 district 4 members and not the individual districts. Because it is a violation, and the board sits every day in violation of the Constitution. So I ask you to re-examine this thing. I know it's still in the courts, but you need to do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no communications today, and no vacancy appointments. Move on to certificates of recognition. We have Pamela Kinsley here? No? We have anybody from the circuit clerk's office? Is Russ back there? Oh, Michael's back there? And we have Debbie Kersey. I don't see Debbie either. Mike, you want to come on up? Sheriff? Mike, this is a recognition of 10 years service with the Sheriff's Department, which something I'm darn glad you're there for and not myself. With that, I congratulate you very much. Sheriff, do you have anything?
Mike's been a very dedicated officer, that does his job day in and day out. He served in the military before that, and so he served his country, and he continues to serve our community. Thank you very much, Mike.
Along with Mike for the certificates of recognition, we also have Pamela Kinsley, 5 years in the coroner's office. We have Siobhan Franklin, 5 years in the circuit clerk's office. Deborah Davis, 5 years in the circuit clerk's office. Russ Belcher, 5 years in the sheriff's department. Scott Brazel, 5 years in the sheriff's department. And Debbie Kersey, 25 years in the maintenance department. Trust you've had an opportunity to review the minutes of the last meeting of June 10th. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Whitten, do I have a second? Mr. Whitus, any discussion on the motion? Additions, deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Move on to the Claims Committee report.
June 26, 2008, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your Committee on County Claims have begged leave to report they've examined the following claims presented and recommended payment. Clerk hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to several claimants payable out of the funds as follows. The General Fund, $1,688,598.01. All other funds, $2,548,375.48. For a total amount of June, $4,236,972.49. For highway, $52,395.32. All other funds, $1,004,998.43. For a total of the month of June, $1,057,393.75. All of which is respectfully submitted by Mr. Vickery, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Olthoff, Mr. Lear, Mr. Scholl, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Legess, Mr. Washington, Mrs. Wilson, and Mr. Clarence. Mr. Foster.
Motion to accept the claims report. Mr. Vickery, do I have a second? Mr. Scholl, any discussion? The roll call.
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. Legess? Mr. Whitten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James? Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Hershey? Mr. Nicholas?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff? Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl? Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Inns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitus?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to the department reports.
County Collector's Monthly Report. We have examined the May 2008 monthly report of the County Treasurer and ex officio County Collector and to the best of our knowledge to find it to be true and correct. The County Treasurer's Report, we have examined the May 2008 monthly report of the County Treasurer and ex officio County Collector and to the best of our knowledge to find it to be true and correct. The Recorder of Deeds report for the month of May 2008 of fees of $135,203.75. The County Clerk's report for the month of May 2008 of fees of $15,671.39. The Animal Control report for the month of May 2008, a total for the month of $8,670.30. The Building report for the month of June 2008, permits of 115, fees of $18,219. The monthly resolution list from the county trustee is hereby submitted for the month of July 2008. The Iroquois Kankakee Regional Schools submit the receipts and disbursements for the county support funds for the quarter ending May 31st of 2008.
Entertain a motion to accept the department reports. Mr. Olthoff, second. Mr. Legess, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Move on to the committee presentations and resolutions on the consent agenda. Mr. Clark, would you move those to the record? Is there any items that anyone would like to see pulled off or question on or anything of that nature? Seeing none, I'll ask to have you read into that.
The award of bids for Section 8, 4,000 GM, the reappointment of Marty Hinton to the Kankakee County Historic Preservation District, the reappointment of Ashley Lucas to the Kankakee County Historic Preservation Commission, the reappointment of Terry Johnson to the Board of Examiners in Appeals, the reappointment of Terry Bond to the Board of Examiners in Appeals, the reappointment of Ralph Kirby to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and polling place changes for enrollment.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Hess, second Mr. Scholl. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. LaJess?
Aye.
Mr. Whitten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholas?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Bossert?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Inns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitus?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Foley?
Motion carries. Move on to the planning and zoning, we have the NPO Planning Fund application grant. Delbert, would you like to speak to this and give a little information to the committee on this? Or to the board?
Good morning. The Planning Department has applied for a grant from Illinois Department of Natural Resources to update our Greenways and Trails plan that was originally adopted in 1999. As part of that grant application, they require us to have a resolution of support from the county board, and that's what we're asking for today. The grant is for $10,000 from DNR, which would be matched by a $2,500 in-kind services from the Planning Department and another $2,500 from the NPO Planning Assistant Fund. Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's IDOT.
Mr. Clark, could you go ahead and read the resolution, and we'll open it up for...
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois. Whereas the County of Kankakee has been the administrator for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which includes the County of Kankakee, City of Kankakee, Village of Lerone Park, Village of Bradley, Village of Bourbonnais, which evaluates transportation needs and necessary improvements, and such governmental entities have entered into an intergovernmental agreement for the utilization and operation of the Kankakee Area Transportation System, CATS, on May 11, 1983. And whereas the state of Illinois has granted funding to the Kankakee County area for general planning studies with the policy committee of the MPO to be the oversight committee for these funds. Whereas the total amount of funding available each year is $45,700, with the funding to be used for planning projects and not to be used for engineering or construction. The project should be land use, transportation, or economic development in nature. And whereas the program intends to fund one large project in the range of $20,000 each year and a number of smaller projects in the range of $5,000 each, with Kankakee County being the fiscal agent for grant administration and staff time incurred in project and fiscal management will be charged against the NPO planning funds. And whereas applications and fundings will be submitted to the Kankakee County Planning Department and will be forwarded to the NPO policy committee to determine the funding. And whereas the Kankakee County Planning Department is asking for approval to submit an application Exhibit A herein, which is incorporated for reference and made a part of the resolution for matching funds to update the Kankakee County Greenways and Trails Plan 1999. The Kankakee County Planning Department seeking $2,500 in NPO planning funds, matched $10,000 in Illinois Department of Natural Resources Planning Assistance, $2,500 of in-kind services provided by the Kankakee County Planning Department for the update of this plan. Now therefore be resolved by the Kankakee County Board that the Kankakee County Planning Department is authorized and directed to make application for grant funding from the NPO for matching funds of $2,500 to update the Kankakee County Greenways and Trails Plan of 1999. Committee recommends adoption of this resolution here was submitted on this. Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Hess, Mr. James, Mr. McBride, Mr. Marcotte, Mr. Scholl, Mr. Tholen, Mr. Tripp, Mr. Washington, Mr. Whitten, Mr. Cruz.
Entertain a motion. Motion to approve, Mr. Whitten, second, Mr. Marcotte. Open it up for discussion. Any questions for Delbert, or?
Thank you.
Seeing that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. LaJess? Mr. Whitten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Aye.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholas?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff? Mr. Lear? Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Bossert?
Aye.
Mr. McBride? Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Inns?
Aye.
Mr. Whitus? Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Tholen?
Motion carries. Move on to Highway and Bridge. We have a resolution authorizing purchase of real estate by the County Highway Department. Jim, you want to maybe give us a little overview before we read this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll read the resolution. The property that's in consideration here, I believe Ms. Jackson supplied you with a map, and the property in question is bubble wrapped and marked 142 East Water Street. It's a lot with a building on it that is the only lot that remains that keeps the Highway Department from owning the property along the frontage of Water Street from Schuyler Avenue to East Avenue. This completes that transaction, that block of property. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas property commonly described as 142 East Water Street, Kankakee, Illinois, and legally described as the east 54 feet of lots 2 and 3 in South Kankakee Subdivision, Block 3, Section 5, Township 30 North, Range 13 West, from the 2nd Principal Meridian, Kankakee County, Illinois, is located directly south, across the street from the Kankakee County Highway Department garage at 752 Southeast Avenue, Kankakee, Illinois. And whereas said property commonly described as 142 East Water Street, Kankakee, Illinois, is being offered for sale by the owner, Shoup Manufacturing Company, Incorporated, a Delaware corporation. And whereas the county would benefit from owning the aforesaid property in order to store materials and equipment, improve parking, and improve neighborhood appearance and security. Now therefore be resolved that the chairman be authorized to execute the real estate purchase contract and pertinent closing documents for the property commonly described as 142 East Water Street, Kankakee, Illinois, at a purchase price of $40,000.
Entertain a motion. Motion to approve, Mr. Olthoff. Second, Mr. Tripp. Discussion, Ms. Hertzberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nope.
Don't say that yet.
Hello.
There you go.
You did that. We are about to throw more good money after bad on a site that clearly cannot support the county's highway needs today, unarguably in the future, without continuing to purchase small, inadequate parcels of expensive property one bite at a time at the detriment of the taxpayers. I am confident that space needs study on this location will provide clear evidence the site is inefficient, outdated, expensive, and detrimental to our riverfront. The property we are about to purchase is a non-conforming use. If the building were to burn more than 60%, we could not rebuild without a variance from the city of Kankakee. Property on the corner of East Avenue and Water Street that we have already purchased is still zoned residential, and we are in violation of zoning laws. It is an eyesore and does nothing to enhance the neighborhood. Before any purchase of property in the city is consummated, we need to acquire the proper zoning and protect our interests. As a taxpayer of Kankakee County and a representative of District 14 located primarily in the city of Kankakee, I want to make a motion to table this until further discussion can be made, or send it back to committee. And the discussion should include a moratorium on the purchase of property of East Water and East Avenue neighborhood by the county's highway department.
Yes. Are you making the motion to table now if you want it done?
I am making the motion.
You need to ask for a second.
Have a motion to table on the floor.
Point of order. A motion to table will merely bring it up at the next meeting.
This meeting.
It will not be referred back, it will be merely brought up, taken up again.
Can I make a motion at this point to send it back to committee?
Yeah, you don't have a second.
I can do that?
If you're withdrawing your motion,
I'll withdraw my motion to table. I make a motion of this matter to be sent back to committee for further discussion, including the discussion of a moratorium on purchase of property of East Water and East Avenue neighborhood by the county highway department until proper space needs and environmental study on the county's riverfront property are done, and a plan created for the long-term future needs of Kankakee County Highway Department is complete.
I have a motion to send back to committees. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Bernard. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Whitten?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. State's Attorney, I would like to ask you if Ms. Hertzberger or Ms. Smith is a conflict of interest, because she sells real estate, and she mentioned in the last committee meeting that there would be an ideal spot for condos along the river. So I believe that's a conflict of interest.
Oh, I believe I never said that in my life.
got a lot of static.
You sell real estate?
Mr. Hens?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this particular building is in my district, and I'm very familiar with this area. And it's all leaning towards industrial on that whole street. I feel that the price that the county's paying is a very good deal on that property. At the very least, if they would consider moving someday, we would make a profit.
I apologize, but just, Mr. Chairman, at this point, the discussion is on whether this should return to committee for discussion, not to discuss the merits of the purchase. We're not here, at this point, we are not discussing the merits of the purchase, but rather whether you, as a body, believe that further discussion and research needs to be done. So if we can limit it to that, then we can vote on that motion. If it fails, then we can talk about the merits of whether it's a purchase this board wishes to make. Unfortunately, I appreciate very what you're saying, but you're going far enough afield that I believe we need to try to keep this in check on the issue at hand, which is, should this go back to committee?
All right, well, in that case, I'll go on record, since this property is in my district, that we should go ahead with this and not send it back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think at this point, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Call the vote and send it back to committee.
We have a few other people that have their hands up here. Ms. Bernard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted for this in committee, but I don't think it would be imprudent to go back and examine it one more time in committee. It was presented to us at the meeting and we voted on it. And I guess I have some concerns too about the long-term planning. My understanding is there's some kind of question too about underground storage tanks, so we need to get that resolved, whether the county owns the property or not. And I really think we need to start looking at long-term plans. I think that area is functionally obsolete for the highway department, and I think Mrs. Hertzberger-Schmidt, has a very good proposal as far as doing a land swap. And I
Ms.
just...
Bernard, again.
But I know, but what I'm trying to say is,
please.
yes, I think we need to send it back to committee.
Thank you. If we could leave our comments at this point to
Let's send it back
whether
to
to send it back to committee
To
with
examine.
regard to that issue. We can talk about the merits when it's properly before the board.
Jim.
Ms. Stroll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Highway Department gave a tour of the building, an examination of the building. The research was done. We have purchased other property in the past. I see nothing gained by sending this back.
Amen.
Ms. Hertzberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If anything, when we buy property in that neighborhood, if you're going to buy property in that neighborhood, which you shouldn't do, but for one thing, you should check and see with the city of Kankakee if there should be a special use permit on this property. And you haven't gone through the proper channels to change the zoning. These are still zoned residential, they're still zoned commercial, and for the county highway department, it should be a special use permit. And if anything, before you buy property in any neighborhood, you should change the zoning. That's just a...
Ms. Hertzberger, again, whether we're going back to committee or
Well,
not, you want to discuss the
that is a
merits.
reason to send it back to committee,
Thank you.
Jamie.
And
I
that's sufficient.
Okay.
But now I appreciate that, but no further discussion
I
with regard to
don't-
the merits of the contract.
But that's a reason, for me to send it back to committee.
Motion on the table to send back to committee. All those in favor, roll call has been asked for.
Mr. Tripp?
Nay.
Mr. Jess?
Nay.
Sir?
Nay.
Mr. Whitten?
Nay.
Mrs. Bernard? Mr. Marcotte?
Nay.
Mr. James?
Nay.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Nay.
Schmidt?
Maybe?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholas?
Nay.
Mr. Olthoff? Mr. Lear? Mr. Scholl?
Nay.
Mr. Mr. Hess?
Nay.
Mr. Foster?
Nay.
Mr. McBride?
Nay.
Mr. Yates?
Nay. Nay.
Mr. Ailes?
Nay.
Mr. Whitus?
Nay.
Mrs. Wilson?
Nay.
Mr. Thole?
Nay. Nay.
Motion to send back to committee fails. We have the original motion on the floor, which the chairman will try to understand. Do we have any discussions on the motion? Mr. Holthoff.
Jim, being it was brought up, is there an issue with fuel tanks? Underground?
There's, Bill, there are 3 underground storage tanks on the existing fuel station lot where the county fuel station services its vehicles. Right. There are no fuel tanks that anyone's aware of on this part. Right.
Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Charles, this is presumably, and I don't even want to use that word, can you just kind of briefly explain if this is part of a plan, some future plan to maintain contiguous property for the purpose of the highway department? I mean, it seems kind of blatant to me that that's what you're trying to do. You just want to have some land, all contiguous, working together so that you can maybe rearrange it in some other manner? Is that where we're headed with this?
There's been discussion regarding the future of the highway department that's come to light of late. And we've had decent discussion so far. I don't doubt that that discussion is going to continue to take shape. But one of the recommendations that I made during the discussions with regard to the future of the highway department, and circumstantially, this piece of property came available for sale during these discussions, which just simply helps to aggravate the situation, is the fact that if the discussions and if the initiative fails to get traction with regard to relocating the highway department from its current location to a different location someplace else, I think we need to do what's necessary for us to survive and continue to function in this location. I don't think there's much doubt that the highway department is going to undergo transition over time as the county continues to grow, and we may need additional facilities, we may need additional storage, we may need additional room for our facilities. And in the course of the discussion with regard to whether or not the highway department remains at its current location or whether it relocates someplace else, that we not miss opportunities to provide for ourselves if the decision that's ultimately made is to remain in the position that we're at. This particular piece of property is more or less an island in the middle of the facilities that we currently own, and it simply makes sense to me, and I've recommended to the committee, and the committee is recommending to you, that we acquire this property in the eventuality that we may remain in the facilities or in the location that we are today, and we'll need the additional space in order for us to build whatever future facilities we need to build in order to continue to operate in an efficient manner for the county of Kankakee as the county continues to grow. I hope that answers your question somewhat.
Yes, it does, actually.
Mr. Hirschberg?
I'd like to make an amendment to this motion that we do a proper space needs study, environmental study on the county's riverfront, and create a long-term plan for the highway department after that study is done.
Motion to amend. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Bernard. Discussion on the amendment. Mr. Blair?
If I might respectfully suggest, it sounds like that's a separate issue that is important for the county board to be dealing with, and to put it in with this motion complicates the issue. I really think that there might be more support for a motion like this amendment is if it were not tied to the original motion. That would be my comment.
Mr. Shaw?
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would have to concur with Mr. Lear. I think it's an excellent concept, but I don't think it should be part of this motion.
Any other discussion? Mr. Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Also to understand from the motion then that the Highway Department doesn't have a long-term plan right now?
That's correct, Sam. We have no long-term plan per se with regard to our facilities.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Mr. Ryder.
I think if we leave the amendment in there with the understanding that we'd have to then go ahead and take a separate step at another committee meeting. I think we need to do that because right now we're acquiring property on a piecemeal basis. Given that there is no strategic plan, and I see this with other departments too, and given what I saw on the paper, the resistance even to looking at moving the highway department, I think we, before everybody just has a knee-jerk reaction and says no, I think we need to examine the facts, examine the issue, and that's what a plan would do. And at least this gets the ball rolling by having it in there. Otherwise, the idea of a strategic plan is just going to disappear down the rabbit hole, and we will not see it for months. So I think it's an appropriate amendment.
Any other discussion, Mr. Enns?
Yes, I would agree with Mr. Reader here. I think this amendment would be more properly brought up in the Highway Committee meeting, not attached to something like this. I think it's irrelevant to what we're going to vote on.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, sending this, the amendment that's attached to it, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion fails. Back to the original. Any other discussion?
Jim, is there any underground storage tanks on the riverfront property?
Let me be sure I understand your question. That would be any of the property that we own that is actually on the shore of the Kankakee River. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Mr. Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would think that owning this piece of property, if indeed in the future we decide to move, would enhance the value of the property, since it would be a contiguous pieces all the way across like that, instead of one piece of property in the middle of something that we own already. So Mr. Enns is familiar with it. It's in his district. He says it's a good deal for that piece of property. I'm with it.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blight?
Thank you. Before you vote on this, I guess the one thing I want to make sure the Highway Department understands with the chairman when the contract comes is we will need to have the property appraised. So as long as it's the understanding of this board that subject to the appraisal coming up to a piece of value that we're contracting with, or if you want to buy it at that price regardless of its appraisal, but we do need to get the property appraised before we purchase it. So.
Is this lot a conforming lot that if something were to happen to the improvements and we had to rebuild on it, we'd be able to do it? Is it large enough?
This particular lot? I mean, it's mixed in with several other lots.
No, but it's still a separate lot. You can see the property lines on here. Or would we have to go through the expense of having the lot lines redrawn?
That I cannot answer.
Thank you.
Question to be called for. Question's been called for?
No, it hasn't.
Mr. James called for the question, Mr. Burnett. Motion to approve the purchasing. Have a roll call.
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. Legess?
Aye.
Mr. Whitten?
Aye.
Mrs. Bernard?
Present. No, you can't abstain.
Four.
No, you can vote present, you cannot
Vote
abstain.
president.
Mr. Marcotte?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. McLaren?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Schmidt? Mr. Nicholas?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Scholl?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Mr. Mr. Yates?
Aye.
Mr. Enns?
Aye.
Mr. Swedis?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Foley?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jim. Move on to number 4, the Recorder's Union contract. It's my understanding that the contract has been emailed to everybody for review. Mr. Scholl, did you have some comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We took the recommendations or suggestions for clarification that were given to us. We'll sit down with the union representatives and representatives of each of the respective departments. Came up with a resolution or the proposal that is before you, and I would strongly urge the board to approve the contract.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, it is.
Second by Mr. Whitten. I'll open this up for discussion. Is there any discussion on this, Mr. Vickery?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. There's a couple of issues there that I have problems with, but I think the committee's done a good job. I know it's been tough, and in the light of putting this to bed, I guess I'll support it. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion, Mr. Yates?
Mr. Chairman, question, what was the most contentious issue with this contract?
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask if we're going to discuss those sorts of things, we either move to executive session or Mr. Yates can have a private discussion with the committee after the vote. But I would not recommend that we discuss the nature of negotiations in open session. If somebody wants to move to executive session, we can move to executive session. But I don't know that that's what, I don't know that that's what Mr. Yates is.
No need. General questions, all I was really asking.
Yeah, and the problem is here, again, we can't really discuss the guts of this in open session. Mr. Wojcicki?
I'd just like to reiterate what Bob said. We worked hard on it. We went back yesterday and worked again, and we were the 3 members of the board that you appointed to represent you wholeheartedly back this negotiations and contract, and I'd like to get it done so we can get our employees their just due. And I would ask for a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to add to that my appreciation for the cooperation of the department heads and the union representatives. It was a very productive, pleasant setting. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion, Mr. Nicholas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final meeting for this negotiation was yesterday. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
That's my understanding, yes.
And from those meetings yesterday, State's Attorney's Office was able to sign off on the contract already this morning? Or, I mean, when was this email? Because I haven't read it. So if there was meetings yesterday, this got emailed out yesterday after the meeting?
Correct.
I haven't had a chance to look at it, so, but if the State's Attorney's Office has, since yesterday, can anybody answer that?
I can't, we have not.
Your office has not seen it?
No. I know the email came this morning when I got to my office.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the work that the committee did, and having sat on the committee, I know that it's grueling mentally in a lot of ways, but put it to bed or just get it over with, I don't think is a reason to vote for something.
Mr. Wojcicki?
We took the, I don't know how I want to phrase this, we took the concerns that were brought up at the last board meeting, we took those back to the table and we've addressed them to our satisfaction. We're the representatives that you've appointed. I've been on them for years and years and years, and I don't ever remember that the board didn't go against what the representatives in a full agreement with the contract have come up with.
Mr. James?
Our request to go into executive section.
Request to go to executive session. Second.
Would that be for the purpose of discussion
Yes.
pending contract?
Yes.
That's fine.
Second by Mr. Laird. Discussion.
I'd also like to add pending litigation to that, or litigation. Do I have to make an amendment to that?
Separate issue.
That's a complete separate issue.
Well, if we're going into, then we'll go into another executive session then?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Going to discuss one thing.
Roll call in executive session.